What's up, YouTube? It's Will with Forge. Thanks so much for taking a second out of your day to figure out what the most important success principle is. This is a principle that I literally talk about so often that I get shot down from continuing to talk about it at the dinner table because I've said it so often. Pretty much everyone that knows me personally and talks to me more than once a week has heard me talk about this. And the book that this is featured in, one of the greatest books ever written in mankind, Think and Grow Rich, my wife, for my birthday present, got me a leather-bound edition of this book, and it is to this day one of my favorite presents I've ever received because I am that much of a nerd. For those of you who don't know, it's a book written by a gentleman named Napoleon Hill who he went around to all of the most successful people at the time. This was in the age of Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, JP Morgan, like the titans of industry that we look to either with huge admiration or huge scorn or somewhere in the middle. But these were undoubtedly the most successful people in American history. So he figured out the common uniting principles, and he said that this was the starting point of everything. And that starting point is called desire. How ambitious you are to achieve your goals is going to determine what you do. At the end of the day, you're going to do whatever you want. So if you want to succeed, you'll succeed. If you want to push through all the bull crap that you have to push through in order to build that business or build that physique or whatever, you're gonna do it. And if you rather hang out, like watch Netflix, party, drink, like eat junk food, you're gonna do that. That can be really, really good news, right? But it can also be really bad news because a lot of these people that he was interviewing were just naturally predisposed to have this insane drive. Like Elon Musk was pulling all-nighters, learning and designing stuff when he was 12. That's a natural inclination that a lot of us don't have. So if your brain isn't wired for that, it can seem like you're screwed. The bright side is that it's possible to rewire your brain to want things more. So by doing that and making yourself more ambitious, every other principle falls into line. If I can make myself really, really, really want to get into shape, it's going to be so much easier to form habits, to wake up early, to do whatever other success principles are involved. It's easy to keep watching Forge videos and buying the books that we're recommending and reading them and studying them. Like all of that's just easy when you want to do it. So how do you make yourself want to do things? Napoleon Hill talked about having a statement that you read every morning and every night that seeps into your subconscious and will slowly focus your mind over time on what it is that you want. So this statement breaks into 4 different components. The first is to clearly define what it is that you want. I want $90,000. I want to make $100,000 a year. I want to lose 40 pounds. I want to be able to deadlift 500 pounds. Whatever the goal is, clearly define it. And if you haven't watched our video on defining your purpose, I hugely recommend you actually go and do that first because it's really helpful to know what your purpose is to then know what goal you should set. Definitely recommend checking that out. So figure out what you want. Now, if you don't attach a date to it, it's irrelevant. So when do you want it? I want that $90,000 by this date. I want to lose this weight by that date. I want to deadlift it on this day. So what do you want? When do you want it? The third is, what are you willing to do to get it? I'm willing to work out 5 times a week. I'm willing to spend less than $2,000 a month. I'm willing to work 80 to 100 hours a week. Whatever it is for you, and whatever actually gets you closer to the goal, have those in your statement. And then lastly, what are you willing to give up to get it? Because all things that are worth anything have some kind of sacrifice attached to it. That's where the concept of value comes from. So you need to figure out what you're willing to give up. For me, I've set goals like, I will have $100,000 in a savings account so I can quit my job and buy a house, and I will do that on this date, and I'm willing to work 80 to 100 hours a week. I'm willing to have daily rituals every morning where I'm speaking affirmations and I'm reading and educating myself so my mind's sharper and I'm in a better state of mind, and I'm willing to give up Netflix, sleep, video games, whatever it takes. So building a statement like that. And the important thing is that not just that you have this statement, but that you're reading it out loud. Because by doing that, you're actually rewiring your brain. It is more effective not only the more often that you do it, but with the more emotion that's behind it. It will more likely rewire your brain if you're like, I'm gonna have $100,000 in a bank account on this day, as opposed to, I'll have $100,000 in a bank account on this day, I guess. The conviction that you speak it with is the conviction that your mind will receive it with. And your mind responds more to highly emotional stimulus than it does to non-emotional stimulus. So just to help everyone out, we've actually created a Forge app. On this, we have the activity from the last video on how to create your purpose, but we also have a place for you to enter whatever your goal statement is, and you can set a time in the morning and in the evening of when it's gonna fire, and it gives a little push notification reminding you to say that out loud. Totally customizable, totally optional, totally free, but we just wanted to provide that resource so that you can have that and you're more likely to implement it, because the easier it is to do something, the more likely you are to do it. But guys, if this was helpful, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't ever read Think and Grow Rich, holy freaking crap, it's the greatest success book ever written. Please get it in the description below. It's like super cheap too. Like, just read this book. It's so good. I just cannot express how good of a book this book is. Thank you so much for watching. Go out there, forge your life, forge whatever that goal is, and we will catch you next time.